Hey guys, Max92, welcome back to another tryout. Today's tryout is on Meet Your Maker. This game was one of the monthly free games for PlayStation Plus a while back. I believe it released into being a free game for PlayStation Plus, and so I'm playing it on the PlayStation 5, obviously. And I wanted to do a video on it at some point. I had intended to maybe do one closer when it came out, but it sort of like got shuffled, pushed back here and there because of me moving around the schedule and scheduling things differently. So now I'm finally getting around to it. And I think the best way that I describe Meet Your Maker is that it's sort of like Mario Maker meets Doom in a general sense. There's sort of two sides to the game. On the one side, you're invading other players' bases for genetic material. Then on the other side, you're using resources to build your own base, which basically acts as like a little first-person shooter level for other players to play through and attempt to invade. The way this is explained within its narrative is that this is like a post-apocalyptic setting. Something big has gone down, human population is dying, and basically through like clones and stuff like that, the species is being kept alive. And so we're taking genetic material to upgrade our little people in our little home base so that we can then feed these people to the Chimera to make the Chimera stronger or something. And for some reason, that's like going to save humanity, supposedly. I believe your base generates resources either by killing players, so you get some resources for killing players, and it hypothetically generates genetic material. That's why it's able to be stolen from there. I don't know if that functions in like actual gameplay, as in like it will just generate genetic material as like you're offline or whatever. Not 100% of that, but narratively that's what's going on. But then you also get genetic material by raiding other players' bases, and that's your loop. You raid bases to upgrade your things so you can raid more bases, so that you can upgrade your things, so that you can build a better base yourself, so that you can get resources to either raid other bases or upgrade your base or whatever. That's your the things that you're trying to do on the like overarching whatever. My experience so far with like gameplay in terms of combat is that it's a bit clunky. This would probably be better if I was playing with like a mouse and keyboard instead of playing with a controller. That's just like how it is with most first-person shooters, is that they play a bit better on mouse and keyboard. You get finer aiming and all that jazz. I haven't really been playing shooters with a controller that much until I started playing this. So it's like I've been playing a lot of the shooters. When I was playing Halo Infinite, I was playing it on PC. So it's been quite a long time since I've like consistently played a shooter with a controller. So it's been a bit of like a clunky whatever, readjusting to what it's like to play with a controller to play this kind of game. It's definitely passable, but I probably would, as with just about any shooter, play it on a platform that you use mouse and keyboard. I think you can play on PlayStation and Xbox with mouse and keyboard these days, but I'm not going to go out of my way and plug those things in to test it. So that's, might be the case, but that's just on the combat side. Like, this is a game that really sinks or swims based on like how good the user-generated content is, because it's really focused around that. And I think that so far what I've played of like player-generated levels has been fine enough. I think there's been some really interesting ones, some that were really silly in terms of like how ridiculous they were designed to be like death traps. That's basically the point to an extent. On trying my hand at building my own base, I've seen some of the clunkiness of that as well. It's definitely usable, but as someone who grew up playing with the Halo Reach Forge, which is like this very intuitive level editor on a console, there's just some things that are just like, this could be, when this is one of your key features of your loop, it could be better. It's fine. It's just sort of like there's some weird stuff to it that are less than intuitive, and I'm not sure if like you can get larger foundations to build on or what, but the first base that I got, the first base that I could afford once I did a couple missions or whatever, I had I think a limit of like 750 whatevers. I don't know exactly what the thing that it's limiting by, but like it seems like most blocks are 1, and then when you get into traps and enemies, it's multiples of 10 a lot of the time. And so like balancing having enough enemies and traps and whatnot to have an effectively murderous base and having enough materials to build a place that like facilitates that, it can be a bit of a challenge, I think, at least with this place that I started with, to really fill out some of this when you have such limitations. Maybe that's just like a first area, first base type of limitation. It's fine enough, like it's passable, like I said about the combat. I just, like when this is your thing is raiding bases and building bases, you want those things to be like a bit more than passable, I feel. Overall, this is a very interesting game conceptually with what it's trying to do, trying to sort of create a narrative context within which you do base building, level creation, and playing through those levels, not just like with a Mario Maker where you make levels because you want to, and you play through levels because you want to. There's like a thing to push you through doing both of these things. But I feel it's very rough around the edges, and it's not as successful as it could be at accomplishing all of that. It's just sort of like, it's fine. I don't think it's like the worst thing I've ever played, but I don't think it's going to be something that necessarily is much more than maybe a cult classic. It might be something that people look back on and are like, wow, that would have been this. We should have played that back in the day. And now the servers are down, and so no one can play it, because that's how these things often go. But, like, hopefully it snatches up at least enough of a niche to stay around, because it's definitely an interesting thing to have within, you know, the gaming community as, like, an alternative to the bigger AAA shooters, or, you know, the whole, like, indie boomer shooter revival or stuff that's going on. To have this other thing that's sort of like trying to be like a narrative multiplayer thing that is cool and interesting. And I'm gonna try to play more of it. I'm not sure if I really will. I don't play on the PlayStation that much. I think it's interesting enough to at least like give it a bit more than the like, I think I've played about 2 hours or so that I've already played and such. I'd say that this is a pass ? In particular. Like, I'd say if you're into shooters, maybe give it a look, because it does have multiplayer and stuff like that. I haven't touched any of that, but it's something that like could be really interesting, especially with those, both the co-op you can do with other players to play through different missions, and, you know, the way that people can make things for players to play through. Really, really interesting thing to play with, and check it out. I don't know. That's really all I had to say about Meet Your Maker. So, got a description. I have a Beacons.ai link. You click that, go to that place, do the things you do in those places. A bunch of links there. How do I outro again? Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't. Subscribe on to keep with this and other shows. Mostly this show right now, but I'm working on other things all the time. Comment. Have you played Meet Your Maker? Have you played a different game that allows you to build levels for other players? Leave a comment what your favorite level creation based game is. I really liked the Cartoon Network ones back in the day on the Cartoon Network website. Those were cool when I was younger. Share the video. Do the things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!